Today I'm going to have a go at making a basket. Now I've got these stems. These are from a dogwood, red dogwood, which weirdly is named Cornus alba. I think it's got white flowers. Anyway, so these dogwood stems have been cut from a place where they're cut down to the ground every year, which causes them to sprout back up and produce these lovely straight stems. People grow this for kind of autumn winter colour. The stems actually look quite striking when you see a whole stand of them. Anyway, I've got a whole load of these. I'm going to try and make a basket. I've had a couple of goes already and it thwarted me. One of the main problems is these aren't very long, so trying to get them to behave in the way I want them to has been a bit of a challenge. So what I'm going to try and do is get them to behave in the way they want to. So I'm going to try to let the material tell me what kind of basket to make. I've made some hoops already. I was going to make an Easter egg basket or a hen basket or a gondola basket. They're all the same, different names for the same thing, where it's just made of hoops and the weavers are in between, but that didn't work all that well. But I have another idea. So the plan is simplify. I'm going to just use 3 hoops. These 3, I think. Or maybe those 3. Maybe that one in the middle, which I will pull in tighter than that. So, to make a hoop, we just tuck in the end so it hooks into itself like that, and then do the same all the way around. Just wind that round like that, and that kind of holds itself together. So we've got a nice hoop there. That's actually quite a nice round one. So let's see if we can make these just as round. I did have a little bit of trouble with some of these. They're a little bit stiff at the butt end. So what I might do is actually pick one that's a little bit more flexible, but it needs to be one of the longer ones. There's a nice flexible looking one. And what we might do here is just to give it a bit more flexibility. I've got this stick and we'll just bend it over this stick, which will just loosen and separate some of the fibres inside this withy and give it a little bit more flexibility. So it's much more likely to take a tight bend now. Okay, so tuck the butt end in and give it a good bend round. Okay. Too big, so we're going to go a bit smaller. Now the thing with this basket is I want this to be decorative. This is going to be a Christmas decoration, but I also want it to be a little bit useful after it's finished its life as a decoration. So I'm going to try to make a basket that is something I might use. So that's 2 hoops. Let's go for number 3 now. Nice thin one. It's not too bad. A bit bendy, but it doesn't really matter. Just put those down. Ah, the sound of works. That was the sound of a plate vibrator. There's some folks over the road having a new driveway laid. So anyway, that might be a sound that we get to enjoy in this video, or not. Okay, so I've got 3 hoops in descending sizes, or ascending, depending on how you look at it. And so what we're going to make is a basket that hopefully comes out a little bit like a cornucopia, a Horn of Plenty type of basket, you know, like you don't see on Fruit of the Loom logo. So yeah, hoops of 3 different sizes. Might make this one a little bit tighter. So we'll just pull that in some more. And I'm just going to find the kind of thin bit where it's not got the butt joint. So that bit there, that one, and that one, and these will be tied together just to start with. Something like that. Just cut off those tails just so we don't get ourselves tangled up in them. Right, now I need a really thin piece, so I'm going to pick out one of the thinner rods from here, really whippy thin bit. We'll start at the tail end. Just want that to come in a little bit, if it will. Now we might work on that in a minute. Anyway, so now I'm just going to try and weave these together. So make a little bend in that end so it hooks onto something, and then we're going to go. It's a bit awkward starting off, but hopefully we'll get the hang of it. So we're going to go over this one here, under that one, over, and then back the other way. So over, under, over, like that, and pull that through, and then the other way. So now we need to go over this one, under that one, over this one. So back, over, under, over. Now it looks a bit messy at the moment, because it is, but hopefully we'll get that pulled in tight and start to form a weave there. Well, it's starting to form a weave, yeah. So just holding the hoops the way I want them to behave. So now we're going to go under, over, under, and again pull that back in tight. Try to compress it into there. Squeeze it down into that corner. Okay, and then over, under, over. Back the other way. Okay, now it's actually starting to have a little bit of a basket weave there. Hopefully you can see that. So that's working. I'm just going to continue now until I use up this rod, or until it becomes too stiff to work in this pattern. Okay, and then we're going to go over, under, over again. It's getting to be a little bit stiff now, so I'm just going to have to make sure I don't snap it, which might mean I need to do a little bit of pre-bending before we actually go into that corner. So give that a little kind of bend and a twist and massage, just so that we don't snap it when we go back round that corner. Okay, pretty good. Could be a little bit tighter. So that's one side. Now I need to try to do the same at the other side to give us the form of the basket, so that, yeah, you might be able to see the shape of the basket starting to form there. Just going to leave this piece sticking out now, for now, while we do something similar at this end. So again, I'm going to pick one of my slimmest rods here. There's a nice slim one. Hook it over at the end. I'm not going to worry about all these bits sticking out. They'll get trimmed up at the end. So just hook that round itself like that. Whoop. Like something like, wow, like that. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to go, so it's going over this one, so you're going to go back underneath, over the middle, and then under that end. And then back the other direction, doing the opposite thing. So over this hoop, under the middle one, over that one. The words under and over are probably going to stop making sense to me at some point in this process. Okay, so we've got, yeah, so we're over this top of this one, so we go under, over, under, Now normally this style of basket you'd make it with more hoops than this, and I did try that and it failed magnificently because this material, well, the sticks are too short, I think, is the problem, and so there was just too much tension in the whole thing and it fought me all the way. However, this one's behaving quite nicely, so I'm hopeful that this is going to be the one that works. Like I say, I had several attempts. This could be, well, probably more like 4th time's the charm. Anyway, so yeah, you can see there's a kind of a basket thing going on there. I'm just going to pull that a little bit tighter. Okay. Right, so we've got a snap there, so I've just got to be aware of that. That's not going to be any good for weaving, so I'll just take that piece off. And then I'm going to go over, under, over, like that, back through. And then just need to make sure that this piece finishes on the inside. So we'll just go under like that. That piece I will leave sticking out. And now we just start with another piece. And I can probably, oops, doesn't matter. I'll probably go for something a little bit thicker this time. So we'll just start where that one left off. So it's going underneath that piece there. And we'll just tuck that back through itself so it hooks on. And then it's going to go over this piece here. So again, we just go over, under, over, under, all the way along. Over, under, over. Under, over, under. And that's definitely starting to be a bit baskety. Now at some point we're going to find that the ribs are too far apart for this to look like a basket. Well, actually we'll just end up with very sparse weave, but there is a plan for dealing with that as well. So I may have to retire indoors in a minute because this is actually, the weather's looking a little bit threatening out here. Okay, so just gonna finish so that that's going under into the basket. In fact, I think I might just go back that way and finish there. Okay, so I'm just going to force that into a neater shape. Okay, so I'm going to do the same on this side here. So what we'll do is with this one here, we'll just go back over and into the middle there so that the piece we eventually cut off is not sticking out the outside of the basket. In fact, there might be enough material here to go around again. Okay. Something like that. So now we're just going to start a new piece. Alongside the old one. So hooked around there like that, just to stop it coming out of itself, and then it goes under this piece, over, under, over, under, over, And now we're kind of weaving a little bit, is it able to go a little bit quicker now. So just because the whole structure is holding itself together now, we can actually speed up a little bit on the process. So actually going rather well now. So that's going to go there like that. And then we'll start another one. So starting to get a basket, I'm just going to squeeze those up a little bit. But like I say, we are going to get to the point where the gap between these ribs is too big. But don't worry, I have a plan. I'm just going to work on opposite ends. I'm just going to sort of start again at this end. So every time I add a new rod in, I'm turning the basket round so that I'm working on both ends equally. So that's got to go under there and fold it back round like that. And then that's going to go, so that goes under, over, under, over, like that. Under, over, under. Come on. My hands are starting to go a bit numb now from the cold. Anyway, we just can continue weaving like that now until we get maybe halfway round. And the weaving's going a lot quicker now because, well, we're just not working in such an awkward little corner of the basket. And I suppose there are just fewer bends per linear unit length of rod. Okay, that's a good place to stop on that side. So now I'm going to work on the opposite side. Okay, so under. That one can go like that. And over. Under. Okay, well, I'm not going to try and continue with that one since it's snapped. We'll just set that aside and we'll start with perhaps a more compliant member. Okay, so that's going under there, so it's going to go over here. Got me right in the forehead. And yeah, so what we're doing is continuing this piece here. So we're going to just start a new piece right alongside it there, which is going to go over the top of that piece under this piece. Hopefully, I think I'm probably going to end up trimming that piece off inside, but never mind. Let's just continue. Just going to trim off these pieces a little bit, just because they're annoying me. just because they're getting in the way. Right, now you'll notice that the gaps in between the ribs now are getting a little bit big. That's annoying. That snapped off in exactly the same position as the other one. That's really weird. Can accommodate that. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. Do we need another rib in there? I'm not entirely sure we do. But if we did, what we would do is just thread an additional rib, for example, in here. You just thread it into there like that, bend it round, thread it in the other side, and then we'd be able to just weave in and out of those ribs there. But I'm not really sure that we do need that additional rib. Given what I intend to do with this basket, after it's finished being a Christmas decoration, this basket's probably going to be a fruit bowl. So I think it doesn't actually need to have a really dense weave. So I think we will just continue on as we go. So we got up to here, we're going over the top of that one. So we will continue as we mean to go on. Now at this point I'm just going to compress these pieces up towards the handle. Not really a handle actually, because it's not going to be a basket for carrying around. I'd need to make it with more than 3 hoops if it was going to be for carrying around, because actually where I've made this a little bit asymmetric, if I try to carry mushrooms in that, they're just going to tumble out the front end. Anyway, that's not the plan. The plan is to make this is a decorative basket to hold a little floral arrangement or something like that, and then afterwards a fruit bowl. No, that's brittle. So is that going to be like that all the way along? No, maybe it's just the tip. So let's try that again. So what I'm doing, see this ends here and it feeds, keep that bit out of the way, this bit feeds down under here. So what I'm going to do is actually just continue that, but this end needs to be locked in somehow, so that's going to get bent under and back on itself like that. and that just locks that end in. And then when it's all finished, we can trim that off somewhere. And that just enables me to pull this tight without pulling the piece right through and out. Okay, it's a good place to stop for a moment. Oh, I think that's actually coming together rather well. I don't know why I sound surprised. Maybe if I showed you the footage that I've actually deleted off the camera of yesterday's attempts, you might understand. Right, again, these pieces here are getting in the way, so they are going to come off for now. I don't need them anyway. Now we're getting to the point now where one end is going to close up quicker than the other, because obviously there is a little bit of a asymmetry to this basket. So I'm going to have to think about how I deal with that. So it may just be a case of spacing these out a little bit more here, or it might be that I do a double weave back and forth here in between runs. We'll see what happens when we get there. Right, back on this side now. Some of these have got little side shoots on them, and I was going to trim them all off, but actually I quite like the rustic look of all the little twiggy bits. We are going to give this a haircut when we're finished and just trim off anything that stick out or look very untidy. It's not going to look incredibly tidy anyway, because as I say, this is a rustic sort of basket we're making. But yeah, what we've got is a uneven space here, so I just need to be a little bit thoughtful about the amount of space we've got at the back there. But I think we're going to be okay. This is where it gets a little bit awkward, because we're working into an increasingly confined space now. Right, now to build up the front here, what I might just do is just do an extra little weave here, like this. Just put in an extra little one where instead of going back all the way to this side, we're just going to go back there. I just need to make sure I do the same on this side so that it's a bit balanced. Okay. Oh gosh, my hands aren't working very well in the cold now. Right. Actually, I think that might be the place where we stop, because that end is just too stiff. So I'm going to cut off there. Right. So I need to do the same on the other side now, which means start here. So we'll do one full run where we go all the way to the back and forward again. And then this time at the front, we're going to go under, over, and then we're going to go under there, and then back to the front rail again, just to fill out this pair of ribs here. Okay, not bad. Yeah, so now what we've created is a bit more of a parallel gap just by filling out an extra little weave in there. God, that one really doesn't want to play. Right, okay, probably only a couple more rods to go in now, which is good because my hands have had about enough of this. Okay. Now it's really a case of making sure it goes into the right place. Oh, it snapped again. So, yeah, we've got a breakage there, and again, I'm not going to keep that in place because it'll just be a nuisance. Huh. Okay. Well, what we might need to do, it might actually be a little bit cold for some of this material. It's not actually freezing, but what I might just need to do is just run that through my hands there, like that, just to make sure that the end is going to bend without snapping. So, third time lucky. Now we're going to go under there, over there, like that. Okay. And I've got to really now actually try to direct it up through the right gap in the weave, which is not easy. There it is. That's the right one. And then just also make sure that that lays down in the right place without getting hooked on there or anything like that. Okay. Okay, last one, last bend. And then we lose that down into there. So that is the woven basket. Actually, I won't say I'm pleasantly surprised, but I'm actually quite liking that. But it still looks really untidy, doesn't it? So now all I've got to do is just go around and give these pieces here a trim, thinking about not letting anything fall off as well. So I'll cut them flush. There's enough there for that to catch on that bar if it needs to, on the rib if it needs to. So I mean, if I make a mistake, we can always just weave in another piece. You know, it won't be the end of the world. If I cut the wrong piece and it comes unraveled a little bit, it won't matter too much. Just start again, just weave in another piece. At some point it becomes a little bit diminishing returns, all this trimming up, so we will just take a sane view of it and just decide to stop fixing it until it's broken. I think we're almost there. So that piece of string can come off now. So if we'd made that with another matching set of ribs on this side, we'd have a basket that you could put things in. As it is, you try and put something in there, it's going to roll out. That's not the point, that's a decoration. So that's the plan. So now I've got to go and find some decorative things to put in it. So there we go, there's my rustic basket decoration. Thanks for watching, I hope that's been fun, and I hope you'll join me again tomorrow for the next door in the Advent calendar.